Scott Ellison was a well-respected man, both a father and a leader, in their small Midwestern town. During his prime, he served honorably as the town's council chair, often referred to as Captain Scott by the locals. His political career only ended after the death of his beloved wife. From then on, he devoted all of his energy to raising their 3 sons. Now, stricken by a terminal illness, Scott had become bedridden and unresponsive for long periods. Knowing his time was drawing near, he made the decision to divide his valuable assets among his children. "Dad, my brothers are on their way," Cole announced softly as he stood near his father's bed. He had just called his 2 older siblings at their request. Their father had summoned all of them, saying there was something important he needed to discuss. Although Cole had just returned from Chicago, he was the first to arrive at their family estate in Cedar Creek, Illinois. He was the youngest of the 3, only 23 years old, freshly graduated from college, where he'd completed his business degree. Cole had rushed home the moment he heard about his father's deteriorating condition. "They probably had other errands to run," his father croaked weakly. "They said they're close. Let's wait a few more minutes," Cole reassured him gently. Don Scott drew in a slow breath. "Let me ask you something, son. Are you seeing anyone?" Cole shook his head. "No, Dad. I just graduated. I don't even have a steady job yet, so I'm not planning on getting into a relationship." "That's a shame," Scott said with a wistful smile. "I don't think I'll live long enough to see you get married and have kids." "What are you saying, Dad? It sounds like you're leaving us." "My illness is worse than you think, son. I don't think I have much time left. That's why I called you and your brothers here, to discuss what I'm passing down to each of you. I even had my attorney help me prepare my last will and testament." Cole sighed heavily. He didn't want to believe what he was hearing, but all he could do was nod quietly, masking his sorrow. Just as they were speaking, the door creaked open. His eldest brother, August, stepped inside. August was 28, married, and already a father to 2 young children. A successful lawyer in St. Louis, his reputation had recently taken a hit after rumors spread about his multiple affairs. "Dad, sorry I'm late," August said as he approached the bed. "Is Brian here yet?" he asked, looking around. "No, not yet," Cole replied. They were referring to Brian, the middle child, aged 26. Despite finishing his degree in agriculture, Brian remained unemployed. He had his own apartment in Chicago, but still relied heavily on their father whenever he needed money for his lavish lifestyle. "He's probably gambling again," August muttered under his breath. "He asked to borrow money last week, said he needed it to recover some gambling losses. I didn't give him a dime. I know I'll never see that money again." "I just don't know what to do with your brother anymore," Don Scott said, his voice weary. "Neither your mother nor I were gamblers. I have no idea who he takes after." "Dad," August interrupted, "when you divide your assets, don't give Brian too much. He'll just blow it all at the casino." "We shouldn't be too quick to judge. Maybe he'll change after I'm gone," Scott said softly. "But tell me, August, what are these things I keep hearing about you cheating on your wife?" The color drained from August's face. "What? Where did you hear that? I'm loyal to Leslie." His voice trembled. Scott's stern eyes narrowed. "You better be. Leslie's a good woman. She doesn't deserve what you're doing to her. And if I find out it's true, I'll personally report you to the Bar Association and have your license revoked." The room filled with tension as father and son exchanged heavy words. Cole stayed quiet, not wanting to get in between them. The last thing he wanted was to anger either of them, especially his older brother. A moment later, the distant roar of a motorcycle caught their attention. "That's probably Brian," Cole said, peering out the window. He was right. Brian entered the house, clad in a leather jacket and boots, looking more like a biker than someone coming home to see his dying father. Immediately, he was met with disapproval. "Show some respect, Brian," Don Scott snapped. "Take off your boots." "They're clean, Dad. It's just a hassle to untie 'em," Brian replied dismissively. Don Scott could only shake his head in disappointment. Eventually, he instructed his sons to help him to the living room so they could talk properly. Once seated together on the large couch their father had owned for decades, the old man began to speak. "You're all here because it's time. My health has declined, and I want to give each of you your inheritance while I'm still alive." August and Brian exchanged excited glances, but Cole remained quiet, his heart heavy at the thought of losing their father. "August, you're the eldest and already have a family," Don Scott said. "I'm leaving you the family boat, the Princess Coral. Use it wisely. It can bring extra income for your family." August's eyes widened in shock. "You're serious? You're giving me the Princess Coral?" A grin spread across his face. "If August gets the boat, then what do I get, Dad?" Brian jumped in impatiently. "You've been the most stubborn of the three, but I hope you'll change. That's why I'm giving you the family hardware store. I want you to manage it and stay off the streets. It's profitable. Use it wisely." Brian's face lit up. "You're serious? That store makes bank. Thanks, Dad. I swear I'll take care of it. Maybe I'll even open a second branch in Chicago." "And what about Cole?" August asked, eyeing his younger brother curiously. Everyone turned to Cole. Their father motioned for him to retrieve a small box from his bedroom. Cole found it easily. It was on top of the old armoire. He returned to the living room with the worn-out wooden box in his hands. "This one, Dad?" "That's it. Inside is your inheritance, son. But I ask that you don't open it until I've passed. That box is for when I'm gone." "Thank you, Dad. But if that's the case, I might never want to open it at all," Cole said, eyes glistening. "You're more valuable to me than anything that could be inside this box." Don Scott smiled weakly. Cole's kindness was the reason he was the old man's favorite. Even though Cole had been away for years studying on the East Coast, he had never once rebelled or disrespected his father. It was as if Don Scott knew his time was truly short. And indeed, just 3 days after that conversation, the old man passed away. Soon after the burial, August and Brian turned to Cole with barely restrained curiosity. "Cole," Brian said, "Dad told you to open the box after he passed. Well, he's gone now. You should open it. Let us see what's inside." "Yeah, come on, Cole," August chimed in. "We should be with you when you open it so we can guide you on how to handle what you inherit." Cole frowned. He didn't like how eagerly they brought up the box, barely a day after the funeral. "Guys, have some respect for Dad. He was just buried, and the first thing out of your mouths is about the box? That's pretty low." Their faces soured. "Why are you talking to us like that?" Brian barked. "You think we're trying to take what's yours? Don't forget, we're older than you." "Exactly," August added. "Dad may be gone, but we're the ones who'll be looking after you now. And don't forget, he said you could open it after he was gone. We're just reminding you." Cole sighed. He knew they wouldn't drop it. "Fine, I'll open it now. Whatever's inside, if it's valuable, I'll still share it with you." He went into his room and retrieved the box. Back in the living room, he placed it gently on the coffee table. The key was still rusted into the side latch. He took a breath, unlocked it, and slowly lifted the lid. August and Brian's excited faces fell the moment they saw what was inside. A single old piece of paper. "No way!" Brian scoffed. "It's just paper? Not even jewelry?" "What does it say?" August asked. "Open it up, Cole. Maybe it's a map to some hidden treasure." Cole unfolded the fragile sheet and read aloud. "My amore." "That's it." Brian laughed bitterly. Is this a joke? Dad left you a love letter? Wait, August interrupted, his eyes narrowing. I think I remember. Dad used to talk about a place he called My Amore, a little cabin where he and Mom used to hang out before they got married. Oh yeah, Cole said, nodding. He did mention that old cabin near the woods outside town. So that's your inheritance? Brian said, sneering. The guy's favorite son, and all you get is a shack in the woods. Doesn't seem like he loved you that much after all. Cole clenched his jaw but said nothing. Brian always had a cruel streak, but this felt especially low. He wanted to defend their father, but August had a temper, and Brian was quick to anger too. Picking a fight wouldn't help. Brian, that cabin meant something to Dad, August said, surprisingly sincere. It was important to him and Mom. That's why he left it to Cole. It's not about money. Sure, Brian muttered, still half laughing. You do you, man. I gotta head out. My wife's probably wondering where I am. Oh? You going home to your wife or your side piece? August teased with a smirk. Brian rolled his eyes. Don't start. They stood up, ready to leave. Whatever, August said. You watch the house, Cole. We'll catch you later. Enjoy your shack. Despite the mockery, Cole didn't let it bother him. He gently held the old piece of paper in his hand, feeling the weight of its meaning. That cabin may have been small and forgotten, but it carried the memories of his mother and father. It was a part of their love story, and now it was his to care for. 3 weeks after Don Scott's funeral, August and his wife Leslie were caught in a fierce argument. One of Leslie's close friends had spotted August entering a hotel with another woman the night before, and immediately told her. August denied everything. Honey, I told you, I just met her that night. We had drinks and she got drunk. That's why I brought her to the hotel. Nothing happened, I swear. I left right after I helped her into her room. Don't believe your friend. She just wants to ruin our marriage. Leslie stood by their bedroom, tears falling as she packed a suitcase. Shut up, August, she snapped, throwing her wedding ring at him. That's exactly what you said last month when I caught you with your arm around another woman. You said you'd just met her too. You can't fool me anymore. I trust my friend more than I trust you. I'm sick of this marriage, August. I regret ever marrying you. I thought you were a decent man, not some womanizer. I gave you chance after chance, but you only got worse. You flirt with any woman who walks by. She reached into the drawer and pulled out legal papers. I'm going to see our attorney and ask for the divorce announcement. Wait, Leslie, come on. Don't call me honey, that makes me sick. What about the kids? August pleaded. Don't you care what this will do to them? I care enough to get them away from a man like you. I can raise them on my own. They don't need a deadbeat father setting an example. You're taking them with you? Of course I am. You think I'd leave them here to watch you parade women through the house? Are you seriously doing this? You're leaving? Yes. If I stay with you any longer, I'll die young from the stress. August watched helplessly as she finished packing, gathered the children, and walked out, leaving him alone. He sat on the edge of the bed, covering his face with his hands. He knew he'd been unfaithful. He knew he deserved it, but it didn't stop the crushing weight of watching his family walk away. Meanwhile, Cole was standing outside the old cabin his father had left him. He had walked there, and the trek left him exhausted. The land it sat on was surprisingly vast, surrounded by trees and quiet. There wasn't a single house nearby, not even a place to ask for a drink of water. He opened the cabin door. It was unlocked, just like before. Inside, the only furniture was a wooden table and 2 chairs. He scanned the room, surprised at how clean it was. Maybe his father had arranged for someone to take care of it. Cole smiled to himself. Maybe inheriting a cabin wasn't such a bad thing after all. This place, even more than the hardware store or the boat, was filled with the memory of both his mother and father. It felt like a quiet sanctuary. His phone buzzed. The screen lit up with a familiar name, Darren S. "Hello, Darren, what's up?" Darren S. was Cole's best friend from college, half Chinese, half American, born and raised in New York. He had been the one person who made Cole feel like he belonged back at NYU. "Cole, I heard about your dad. I'm really sorry for your loss. Actually, I'm at the airport. I flew into the US to see you." "You're serious? Why didn't you tell me you were coming?" "I knew you were in the countryside, so I figured I'd just go straight to your apartment in Chicago. Pick me up there, okay? I really want to see where you grew up." "All right, I'll borrow my brother August's car. He left it here when he visited. That way we won't need to take the train." "Cool. I'll grab a cab and head to your apartment. See you soon." "Safe trip, man." Cole hung up, left the cabin, and returned to the family mansion. August hadn't answered his calls, so he texted instead. Luckily, the car keys were still in August's old room. No problem finding them. Less than an hour later, Cole was speeding toward the city. When he pulled up outside his apartment building, he spotted Darren waiting near the front door. "Darren, been here long?" Cole asked, giving him a fist bump. "Just got here, actually. I even picked up some food on the way," Darren said, holding up 2 bags. "Perfect. Let's eat inside. I've got a lot to tell you." They went inside, ate dinner, and caught up. Eventually, Cole shared the story about the inheritance, his brother's shares, his own odd little box, and what it had contained. Darren looked puzzled. "Are you sure that's all the box had? Just a piece of paper?" "Yeah," Cole replied. "There really was just one old note in there. My brothers were there when I opened it." "I want to see the box," Darren said, his tone curious. "Your dad was a skilled woodworker, wasn't he? What if there's a hidden compartment inside?" "Where are you getting that idea from?" "I just have a hunch," Darren said. "All right, I'll show it to you when we get back to the house." They stayed at Cole's apartment for only a short time after dinner, before driving back to the countryside. It was just an hour away, and they didn't want to lose time. Once they arrived and took a short rest, Cole brought out the wooden box and handed it to Darren. Darren opened it, inspected the faded paper again. "My amore," and then turned the box over. "I told you," he said. "There's something off about this." He tilted it, and as he did, a second, previously hidden piece of paper slipped out from a compartment underneath. They hadn't noticed it before because it was built into the bottom of the box. "I knew it!" Darren said triumphantly. "I knew your dad wouldn't just leave you an old cabin." Cole's eyes widened. He slowly unfolded the second paper. As he read, his heart pounded in his chest. "Darren, it's a land title. It's under my name." "You're kidding," Darren said, leaning over to read it. "I thought he just left me that little cabin, but he gave me the entire property it sits on." "Wow, congratulations, man. That means you won't need to buy land for your dream mall." Cole's eyes filled with tears. He looked up at the photo of his father hanging on the wall. "Dad knew. He always knew I wanted to build a business. That's why he left it to me." He wiped his tears away and whispered to the portrait, "I won't let you down. I'll build that mall, and I'll help people while I do it." Darren nodded. "And I'll talk to my dad about investing. I know he won't say no if it's you." "Thanks, Darren. Seriously." Back in the city, Brian was sitting at a card table in an underground casino, looking tense. He had been there since the previous night, and now he was down to his last game. He'd already gambled away almost all of his money, and within a few minutes he lost again. Frustrated and furious, he lunged across the table and grabbed the man he'd been playing against. "You cheated, Wilbert!" Brian shouted. No one cheated, Brian. You just lost. Wilbert barked back. You're hiding cards. You're dirty. Brian shoved him, ready to throw punches. But before he could do more damage, several other players stepped in and separated them. Then the bouncers arrived. You've got a temper, Brian. That's why you always lose. You've got attitude but no brains. Wilbert snapped as he stepped away. Don't walk off with my money. Let's play again. You got anything left to bet? Brian hesitated. Then he spoke up. I'll bet my store, the hardware store. I'll make sure I beat you this time. Wilbert grinned. All right, no takebacks. Don't get cocky, Wilbert. You may have won earlier, but this time I'm taking you down. The second game began. A crowd formed around them, drawn by the tension and high stakes. But luck wasn't on Brian's side. He lost again. Pale and stunned, he sat frozen in place, realizing what he'd just done. His father's hardware store. Gone. He lunged again, but the bouncers were faster. They threw him out onto the street. Fuming, he kicked over a nearby trash bin. Then, still in shock, he walked to his motorcycle and rode home. Once in his apartment, he drank himself into a stupor, trying to forget everything. Meanwhile, August was throwing a wild party aboard the Princess Coral. His wife and children had left him, but rather than mourn, he used the boat to host a massive gathering of friends and frat brothers. And of course, there were plenty of women. He didn't invite anyone from work. He knew full well that none of the other attorneys at his firm partied like he did. Among the guests was Jessica, one of his many flings. Hey, August, can we talk in private? She asked flirtatiously. He slipped an arm around her waist and whispered, Sure. Bathroom or cabin? She laughed. Geez, that's what's on your mind already. Let's grab drinks first. I want to talk about your wife. They moved to the upper deck, each holding a cocktail. I heard Leslie left you and took the kids, she said. Who told you that? Please, you forget I've got my own sources, she said with a smirk. So what now? Are you getting divorced? That's what she wants. She's wanted it for a while, but now she's finally done. I guess I pushed her too far. Jessica sighed. Why do you mess around so much? Your wife's a good woman. She is, but over time things changed. And when I see women like you, sexy, fun, and confident, I just can't resist. Jessica chuckled. You're such a womanizer. So what, are you planning to get married again? If I meet someone better than her, sure, you're on the list. Count me out, she said, smiling. Marriage is a headache, but I don't mind being your fling. August laughed, pulled her closer, and kissed her deeply. Moments later, they disappeared into a private cabin. But just after they were dressed again and about to rejoin the party, a commotion broke out. Thick smoke was pouring through the corridors of the boat. What the hell is going on? August shouted. Oh my God! August! There's a fire! Jessica screamed. They grabbed life vests, helping each other get them on. We have to jump, he yelled. Now, before the fire reaches us. They leapt into the ocean, along with dozens of other panicked guests. It took hours before the boat finally sank beneath the waves. August could only watch, devastated, as his father's prized boat, the one he had inherited, was swallowed by flames and water. Cries and screams surrounded him. Jessica clung to him, sobbing. It was a disaster. 6 hours later, rescue boats finally arrived. Once back on land, the reality sank in. Not everyone had survived. 3 were dead. 2 were missing. August was overcome with guilt. Cole learned about the tragedy soon after. He wanted to visit his older brother, but he couldn't leave immediately. He was still in China with Darren, awaiting a crucial meeting with Darren's father to negotiate the mall investment. Darren, I have to go back to the US. I can't just leave August to deal with this alone, Cole pleaded. Cole, if you leave now, you'll lose your only chance to speak with my dad. Darren replied, still focused on his laptop screen, which showed breaking news about the fire and sinking of the Princess Coral. You know how my dad is. He hates cancelled meetings. Besides, the report says guests on the boat had been smoking heavily. That's what started the fire. This was your brother's fault. Instead of using the boat for business, he threw a party. He brought this on himself. But he's still my brother. Fine. Choose. Your brother, who's never cared about your well-being, or your dream of opening the mall? Cole hesitated. He scratched his head in frustration, realizing Darren wasn't going to back down. Darren patted his shoulder. Don't worry. Once we're done here and my dad agrees to the deal, we'll fly back to the US together. All right, I'll wait. You're the one calling the shots right now. Minutes later, Darren's father arrived, and the meeting began. Cole presented his proposal. Darren acted as translator, since Cole didn't speak Chinese, and Darren's father didn't speak English. The meeting lasted nearly 5 hours, but ended with smiles. Darren's father agreed to invest in the mall. Even with the earlier news about his brother's disaster, Cole couldn't help but feel hopeful. Back in the US, August was being interviewed by local media. He admitted responsibility for the fire and the boat's sinking, but withheld the true reason for the party. As the registered owner of the vessel, he also bore responsibility for compensating the families of the victims, but he had no idea how he'd be able to help them. After the interview, the first person August sought out was his brother Brian, but what he learned only made things worse. You what? You gambled away the store Dad left you? August shouted after hearing Brian's story. I didn't have a choice, man. Wilbert was humiliating me. I had to win back my pride, Brian replied defensively. So you challenged him again and lost? You idiot! How could you let your addiction get this bad? Don't call me an idiot. At least I didn't sink Dad's boat. That's on you. Maybe that was karma for all your cheating. August lunged at him and punched him square in the jaw. Brian fell, clutching his face. You want more? August growled. Brian stood slowly, wiping blood from his lip. You want me to fix this? You fix your own mess first. You're the lawyer. Can't you take out a loan from your firm? That's not how it works, August snapped, running his hand through his hair in frustration. I'm leaving. When I get back, that store better be yours again, or we're both screwed. August stormed out, hailing a cab to his law firm. His car had been sold before the party to help cover expenses. At the firm, he looked for his closest friend, Matt, but something about Matt's demeanor was off. You okay, Matt? August asked. You look tired. I heard about the fire. I'm sorry, man. That's a lot to deal with. Thanks, but I'll be fine. By the way, has the boss asked for me? Not yet, Matt said. But he probably will, and it's not about the fire. It's about something much more serious. August's stomach tightened. What do you mean? Just go talk to him. He's in his office. August nodded and headed to the chief legal officer's office. He knocked 3 times before hearing, Come in. Sir, you asked for me? I heard about the boat fire. You're dealing with a lot. Yes, sir, and I take full responsibility. It was my fault. The chief handed him a brown envelope. What's this? August asked. Open it. August pulled out a stack of photographs and froze. They were pictures of him with several different women in compromising positions. Startled, he dropped them onto the desk and looked at his boss. I can explain. Your wife already did. She brought these in yesterday, signed testimony included. August scanned the documents in horror. His wife had filed a formal complaint, including evidence of his infidelity. You know the code of professional responsibility. You've broken it. Your license is on the line. Please, sir, August pleaded. I need this job. I have kids to support. You should have thought of that before you started cheating. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. The Bar Association won't even need to conduct a full investigation. The evidence is overwhelming. Wait for the court's decision. August dropped to his knees, sobbing. Years of hard work, now slipping away because of his recklessness. All he could think about was his wife, his children, and the life he'd destroyed. 2 days later, Brian was drinking alone in his apartment again. Lately, alcohol was the only thing he seemed to consume. He had just come back from an unsuccessful meeting with Wilbert, the man who had won the hardware store from him at the underground casino. Brian had begged him to return the store, swallowed his pride, but Wilbert only laughed in his face, further humiliating him. As he sat on the floor, a beer can in hand, the front door opened. August stepped inside. "Well, you look like hell," Brian muttered. "Want a drink?" August sat down next to him. His eyes were red, heavy bags under them. He looked just as miserable. "I lost my license," he said quietly. Brian's head snapped toward him. "What?" "Leslie reported me to the firm. They had photos, testimony. The state bar is revoking my license. She's divorcing me and she's taking the kids." He dropped his face into his palms and sighed heavily. "Man, what are we going to do now?" Brian asked. "The store's gone, your license is gone, everything's falling apart." "I guess this is karma," August said bitterly. "I cheated on my wife, ignored my kids. I let Dad down, I yelled at him, fought with him all the time. Maybe I deserve this." "Same," Brian admitted. "I always argued with Mom and Dad too. I made them worry all the time." The brothers continued drinking, but no amount of alcohol could dull the weight of their guilt. Then Brian perked up with an idea. "Hey, what if we ask Cole for help?" "What, Cole? You think he'd help us?" "Why not? I know he only inherited the cabin, but he's a hard worker. He went to college in New York. He's the only one of us who didn't mess up." August nodded slowly. "All right, let's try. We'll go see him tomorrow." The next day, the two of them rode Brian's motorcycle out of the city and headed back to their hometown. Meanwhile, Cole was busy meeting with the female architect he'd hired to design the mall. They were seated in a sleek conference room at the design firm's headquarters. He had just flown back that morning with Darren after finalizing the deal in China. "Architect, I want this mall to be simple," he said. "Nothing too modern, no slippery floors, no steep stairs. I don't want escalators or elevators. It's a rural area. Most of the locals aren't used to high-tech stuff." "I understand, sir," the architect replied, taking notes. "I also want the floor tiles to be a light cream color, but with texture. I don't want people sipping." "Understood. What about the entrance and exit?" "Glass doors, but light, easy to open, nothing heavy." "That's doable." "One more thing," Cole added. "There's a small cabin on the land. I don't want it removed. It belonged to my parents. Can we incorporate it into the design?" "Absolutely. We can make it a cultural centerpiece, a visual attraction. We'll repaint it and reinforce the structure so it's safe for visitors." Cole smiled. Perfect. That cabin means everything to me." "Got it, sir. Anything else?" "That's it for now. I'll let you know if I think of any adjustments." They shook hands, and as Cole and Darren exited the building and walked back to the car, Darren raised an eyebrow. "Simple design, huh? You sure 2 floors is enough? Your land can handle a whole complex." "The more basic it is, the safer it is," Cole replied. "Besides, cleaning a tall building is hard. I'm trying to think ahead." "You really care about people, don't you?" Darren said. "You're basically a saint." "I just don't want to be blamed if someone gets hurt. I'd rather prepare for problems now." They drove for hours. Cole dozed off in the car and didn't wake until Darren nudged him. As they approached the house, Cole spotted a familiar motorcycle parked out front. Inside, August and Brian were already waiting. "Oh, hey guys," Cole said, surprised. "Have you been here long?" "About an hour," August said. "Where have you been, and who's your friend?" "Ah, this is Darren," Cole replied. "My friend from New York. Darren, these are my older brothers." "Nice to meet you both," Darren said, offering his hand. He left them alone to talk. Cole listened as his brothers recounted everything that had happened: the fire, the loss of the store, the fallout at the law firm. They held nothing back. Cole wasn't sure how to react. He felt torn, disappointed, but also sympathetic. Finally, he spoke. "August, I hate to say it, but I think Leslie was right to report you. Maybe if she hadn't, you'd never have seen the damage you caused." "You're right," August said quietly. "And now I have no idea how to even approach my kids again. They probably hate me." He wiped his eyes. "Give them time," Cole said. "And for the record, I'll help pay for the expenses for the victims of the boat fire." "Thanks, but where will you get that kind of money?" August asked. "From Darren. He's wealthy. He won't say no if I ask." Cole then turned to Brian, who had been silent for a while. "And you, Brian, feeling sorry for yourself won't bring the store back. Drinking won't help either. You need to start over. Use your agriculture degree. I hear some colleges are hiring lecturers, even if you're not registered yet." Brian nodded. "Fine, I'll apply. That was always the plan anyway. I just lost track of it all." "Good, I'm counting on you," Cole said firmly. They talked for hours, reconnecting. When evening fell, August and Brian finally left. Cole and Darren were alone again. "You didn't tell them about the mall yet, did you?" Darren asked. "No, and I didn't mention the land title either. I figured you'd be mad." "Smart move," Darren said. "It's not about keeping secrets. It's about protecting yourself. I get bad vibes from them. They might not mean harm, but desperation makes people reckless. Until your mall's under construction, keep it to yourself. Got it?" Cole nodded. "You can count on me." The next day, the architect called and arrived in town to inspect the land. "This is a huge lot," she said in awe. "You could build more than just a mall here." "I'll think about that later," Cole said. "For now, the mall is enough." She handed him the finalized design plans. "You really nailed it," he said, reviewing the drawings. "It's exactly what I wanted." "Great. You can now hire engineers and contractors. Our firm can recommend a few." "Perfect. Darren and I will drive you back to your office so we can meet them." True to his word, Cole met with the engineers later that day, and they agreed to take on the project. Within 2 weeks, construction began. Supplies arrived, workers were hired, and everything ran smoothly, thanks to the help of Darren and other supportive locals. But word about the construction reached August and Brian. One day they stormed onto the site. "Cole!" August called out. "What are you building here?" Cole tensed. "What are you two doing here?" "Just watching," August said sharply. "Isn't that allowed?" Brian stepped forward. "How come you didn't tell us you were rich now? Building a mall, borrowing money, you think we wouldn't find out?" Cole sighed. He knew there was no avoiding the confrontation now. "I'm not rich," Cole said, exhaling slowly. "I had help, and I only started building the mall because of the inheritance I received from Dad. If you really want to know the whole story, let's not talk here. We might distract the workers. Let's go back to the house." August and Brian didn't argue. They nodded and followed him back to the mansion. As soon as they arrived, Cole began explaining everything: the cabin, the hidden land title, and how Darren's father agreed to invest in the mall. He shared every detail, not holding back. As the truth settled in, both of his older brothers slowly sank into the living room couch, shock written all over their faces. Neither of them spoke right away. Cole could sense their emotions swirling: disappointment, disbelief, and most of all, jealousy. Then Brian muttered, "This isn't fair. Why did Dad only leave you the land? Why did you get to study in New York while we stayed here?" Cole swallowed hard as Brian's voice rose. "He always favored you. That's why you got the valuable inheritance. We didn't even get a chance." "You both inherited valuable things too," Cole argued, "but you didn't take care of them. You could have done something great with that boat or that store if you had just used them wisely." "Me? I had to work my ass off. I had to go negotiate just to get investors." Brian's voice sharpened. "Now you're yelling at me?" August raised a hand. "That's enough. Let's not fight. Cole's got a lot going on right now. We're only getting in his way. He's told us the truth. Let's go." "You're seriously okay with this?" Brian asked in disbelief. "You're just going to walk away and let him have everything?" "This is our fault, Brian. We ended up like this because of our own choices. If you don't want to leave, that's your call. But I'm done." August stood and walked out. Brian hesitated, then turned back toward Cole. "This isn't over," he warned, voice low. Once the door slammed behind him, Cole let out a deep breath. His heart was pounding. The tension was thick, but it was finally over, at least for now. A few moments later, Darren came rushing in. "Thank God," he said. "You're okay. I thought something happened when I saw your brothers at the site." "You just got back?" Cole asked. "I went straight to the construction site when I saw their car. The workers told me they were here and looked pissed. I was worried." "They were angry, yeah," Cole admitted. "But they're gone now. I told them everything." Darren sat down beside him. "So what are you going to do now? Keep building and pretend none of this happened?" Cole shook his head. "No, that's not right. I still want them to be part of this, to help build something with me." "What if they don't want to share it? What if they want to take it all for themselves?" "I can't let that happen," Cole replied firmly. "I've worked too hard to let them ruin it, but they're still my brothers. I want peace, not war." Darren sighed. "Then from now on, you need to be careful. No traveling alone. I'm hiring bodyguards." "Bodyguards? Isn't that a little extreme?" "Not at all," Darren said. "I did some digging. Did you know August almost got arrested in high school for nearly beating a guy to death? And Brian, he got caught shoplifting from a convenience store more than once." Cole stared at him. "See what I mean?" Darren said. "Those two are unpredictable, especially now that they're desperate." "You think I should be afraid of them?" Cole asked, still stunned. "I think you should be smart," Darren replied. "Don't give them the chance to hurt you." Cole nodded slowly. Later that day, they returned to the construction site to continue overseeing the project. But even as he walked among the workers and gave instructions to the engineers, Cole couldn't shake the memory of what Darren had said. And though his brothers stayed away for the next few days, a part of him knew this wasn't the end. As the days passed, Cole remained busy with the mall's construction. 3 months flew by. The building was nearly complete. Just painting, utility hookups, furnishing, and glass window installation remained. Cole felt a mix of guilt and joy. He was thrilled to see his dream taking shape, but he had no idea what had become of his brothers. They hadn't visited, called, or messaged him since the confrontation. One day, he decided to find them. He drove to Chicago, hoping to check in on both August and Brian. But when he arrived, he found that their apartments had both been sold. With no other options, he visited Leslie, his former sister-in-law, and her children. Luckily, he had kept in touch with his oldest nephew through social media and knew their current address. "Cole, what brings you by?" Leslie asked, surprised as she opened the door. I just wanted to see the kids. Missed them, Cole replied with a small smile. Are they home? They're inside. Come on in. Cole stepped inside and waited in the living room while Leslie called for the children. Within seconds, they ran into the room, beaming with excitement. Uncle Cole, did you bring us presents? Asked August Jr., now 7 and in 2nd grade. Of course I did. Cole laughed, handing him a paper bag. He picked up little Lily, now 4 and starting daycare, and kissed her cheek. How's my baby Lily, huh? He asked, making her giggle. Leslie returned with drinks, just as the kids ran off to play with the robot and doll Cole had brought. Sister Leslie, Cole began, once they were alone, using the familiar title they'd kept despite the culture shift. Has August been visiting since the divorce? No, Leslie said with a sigh. He's called a few times, sure, but he hasn't made the effort to see the kids. I didn't let him at first. I was mad. But after a while I softened up. The kids missed him. Still, he hasn't shown up. Not even once. When was the last time he called? Almost a month ago. I'm getting worried. I haven't heard anything. Not from him or Brian. Cole frowned. I went to their places. Both apartments have been sold. I don't know where they are. Do you think they're together? No idea, but I'm starting to feel guilty. What if something happened to them? He started telling Leslie everything, how the inheritance had been split, how Brian had gambled the store away, how August lost his law license, and how the mall came to be. Leslie listened quietly. I already knew about most of the inheritance, and now that I know about their mistakes, it makes sense why they've stayed away. But I didn't realize your inheritance was more than just a cabin. That might be why they're not reaching out, Cole said. Maybe they're jealous or ashamed. But I want to talk to them. I was never planning to keep them all to myself. They're still my brothers. Well, I hope they're all right, but you know your brothers. If they're desperate enough, they'll do anything to get what they want. Cole stayed with Leslie and the kids for 3 hours before driving back home. The last thing Leslie said kept echoing in his mind. She was right. His brothers were capable of dangerous choices if pushed too far. As he neared the rural road back to the province, a group of masked men blocked his path. 7 men dressed in black, all wearing ski masks, surrounded his car. His heart pounded as he realized some were carrying guns. One of them banged on the window, motioning for him to step out. Cole complied, hands up. The man aimed his gun at him and ordered him to lie face down on the pavement. With no one else around on the quiet country road, the men moved freely. One of them barked orders. Take everything out of the car. As the others looted, Cole seized the moment and punched the nearest man. But he wasn't trained in fighting. He was quickly overpowered. One of them kicked him hard in the back of the head, and everything went dark. Cole awoke in a dimly lit room, a single lamp illuminating his tied hands and feet. He was seated in a chair, dizzy and bruised, but conscious. At least his mouth wasn't taped shut. Is anyone there? Why are you doing this? What do you want? He called out, desperate. No response came at first, but after a few minutes, 3 masked men entered. 2 remained by the door. The third sat across from Cole, face still covered. So, you're Cole Ellison. Nice to finally meet you, the man said. Who are you? Why do you know my name? Why did you tie me up? I can't tell you who I am, but I run this operation, and I know your brothers. Cole went cold. My brothers? What did you do to them? Relax, I'll tell you where they are, but only if you agree to my deal. What deal? You give me everything, your money, the land, the mall. In exchange, I'll tell you where they are. Cole's throat dried. He shook his head slowly. I don't have much money, and I can't give you the land or the mall. That's all we have left. It's the only thing my brothers and I still share from our parents. The man laughed, a mocking, cruel laugh. You hear that, boys? He said the mall belongs to all of them. Cole frowned, confused by the man's comment. A moment later, the man gave an order. Take off your masks. The two figures by the door removed their face coverings. Cole gasped. August? Brian? They avoided his eyes. The ringleader laughed again. Well, looks like I've walked into a family reunion. Cole was frozen in shock. His eyes darted between his two older brothers, faces thin, bruised, hollow-eyed and pale. Their cheeks were sunken, lips dry, and skin dotted with cuts and bruises. They looked like shadows of the men they used to be. Why? Cole's voice cracked as he spoke. Why would you do this? What happened to you? Where did Mom and Dad go wrong with you? Neither August nor Brian responded. Their eyes avoided his. They never taught us to be like this, Cole said softly, almost pleading. They raised us better than this. The masked leader stood and delivered a heavy punch to Cole's face. The chair tipped, sending Cole crashing to the floor. His cheek hit the concrete, splitting skin, but he didn't cry out. Both brothers flinched. Cole could tell they wanted to intervene but were too afraid. Cut the drama, the leader snapped. I don't need your lectures. I need what's mine, and if you don't give it, you'll just keep getting kicked until you do. He began stomping on Cole, blow after blow, landing across his chest and sides. Cole could taste blood in his mouth. The pain was blinding. Then, a gunshot, outside the room. Suddenly, one of the gang members burst in, panting, a shotgun slung over his shoulder. Boss, police are outside. Someone must have followed us. The leader's expression changed. He looked at Cole one last time, spat, and stormed out with the other man. August and Brian stayed behind. Gunshots rang out through the air. Sirens, shouting, and chaos followed. As the noise escalated, Cole's consciousness started to fade. But just before he passed out, he felt his brothers crouching beside him. They were untying him. Cole woke up in a hospital bed, bright fluorescent lights above him. His head throbbed and his body ached. He turned slowly and saw Darren asleep on the chair beside him. When Darren noticed him stir, he jumped up. Cole! Cole winced. Where are they? Where are my brothers? Darren's face was solemn. They're at the station. The cops have them in custody now. Cole let out a long exhale. Did they admit to everything? They did. They joined that gang to pay off their debts, especially Brian. He owed a fortune to some underground casino. But even after they repaid everything, the gang wouldn't let them go. They were threatened, beaten. Cole's voice was barely audible. Did they plan the kidnapping? No, Darren said firmly. They didn't agree to that. It was the gang leader's idea. Your brothers tried to stop it, but it was too late. Tears welled in Cole's eyes, but there was a strange relief beneath the grief. How did you find me? He asked. I went to the countryside, saw your car on the roadside, abandoned. Something felt off. I asked around, but no one had seen you. I started to panic. Cole blinked slowly. What you didn't know, Darren added with a small smile, was that I put a GPS tracker inside the watch I gave you, and you happened to be wearing it. Cole stared at him, speechless. I called the cops the moment I found your signal. God, Darren, thank you. Don't mention it. You're my best friend. Cole stayed in the hospital for only 2 days. Once he was discharged, the first place he went was the county jail. His brothers were in separate holding cells, but he saw them both. They were crying the moment they saw him. I'm sorry, Cole, August said through the glass, his voice shaking. I let you down. I let my family down. Please, take care of my kids. And Leslie. Brian nodded, tears dripping from his chin. I know I don't deserve anything, but thank you for not giving up on us. I promise I'll change. Just don't hate me. Cole pressed a hand to the glass. I don't hate you, and I'll do everything I can for both of you. But when you get out, you have to leave your sins behind. All of them. Leave them in this cell. Don't bring them back with you." Both brothers nodded solemnly. "Thank you, Cole. You can count on me," August said, his voice filled with emotion. "Please take care of my kids, and tell Leslie I'm sorry. I'll earn back their trust when I get out." Brian wiped his eyes. "Me too, Cole. I promise I'll be better. Thank you for forgiving us." Cole gave them both a faint smile through the thick glass and nodded before leaving the precinct. Now more determined than ever, he focused on the mall project. With time and support, he pushed forward until the big day finally arrived. Months later, Cole stood at the ribbon-cutting ceremony. The mall was finished. His dream had come to life. The building welcomed its first shoppers with grand opening sales. Not only did the locals attend, but even tourists and guests from Darren's network came to see it. Cole had become a successful mall owner, and his story quickly spread. Media outlets started covering his journey, calling him a hometown hero. He didn't just stop at business. He used his success to help others by regularly organizing charity events for those in need. 5 years passed. August and Brian were released from prison. Now changed men, they were welcomed with cautious hope. They attended Cole's wedding, a beautiful event hosted at the very mall Cole had built. The bride? Judy, Darren's cousin, on his mother's side. Cole had met her the first time she visited the mall with Darren and instantly felt a connection. She later became the love of his life. Together, they had 3 sons, and as they grew, Cole made sure to teach them the one lesson his life had hammered into his soul. Stay united, avoid jealousy, never be greedy. He wanted them to grow up knowing that success meant nothing if it came at the cost of family. And with that, Cole had done what his parents would have wanted, preserved their legacy, and passed on something far greater than land or a mall. He passed on love, integrity, and the importance of forgiveness. The end. Thank you all for watching. This is Mr. Hope. I love you all.